Whoa. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. Oh my God. Look at this drop right here. Holy smoke. Bitcoin has dropped 6% in the last 24 hours. The price of Bitcoin is down 6% in the last couple hours. The price of Bitcoin is down 6% since retesting $90,000. Chat. Didn't I tell you this was a trap? Didn't I tell you guys yesterday that this was a trap? Didn't I tell you yesterday? I hate to say that I told you so. But it was very obvious. It was very, very obvious, guys. And we talked about this yesterday, and I told you guys, this is a trap right here. I told you guys this is a trap. I told you this is not the beginning of a new bull market. This is not the beginning of a $126,000 Bitcoin. It is not the beginning of $150,000 Bitcoin. No, this is a continuation to the downside. And I told you, when the price retested $90,000 and when we briefly broke above 90,000 and people started celebrating and people started talking about how the lows were potentially in, I told you guys, hey, this is a trap right here. So we're going to talk about it in this live stream. We are going to talk about it in this live stream. I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I'm seeing in the chart of Bitcoin, both in the short term and long term. But we've already talked about the long term outlook, right? We've spent hours and hours analyzing Bitcoins weekly and monthly. And we know it's not bullish. We know Bitcoin's weekly and monthly is not bullish. And as long as that monthly is bearish, I don't care what the price do in the short term. We are ultimately going down. Right? I don't care what the price do in the short term, guys. I don't care if we go to $95,000. I do not care. Right? Ultimately, we continue down as long as that weekly and as long as that monthly is bearish. So I told you yesterday, right? Yesterday I spent hours. Is it hours or just an hour? Yesterday I spent time, looking at Bitcoin. I spent time looking at the short term. And I told you guys literally, this is a trap. Right? This is a trap. I don't think Bitcoin goes above $91,000. Right? I didn't think Bitcoin goes above $91,000. And I was absolutely right. And you look at the price of BTC today, it is at 84,000. Yes, you may say the price, you may say the equity market is also down, but who cares? All right, who cares? Right? Look at the chart. Look at the chart of Bitcoin. Is it bullish or is it bearish? Right? Look at the chart of Bitcoin. Who cares about other markets? Who cares if the stock market is also pulling back today? Right? You shouldn't care about that. Right? Look at the chart of Bitcoin, man. Right? This was a big trap. And I'm going to talk about today why you should continue to stay on the sideline. If you have a long-term outlook on BTC and you want to dollar cost average, okay, if that's your strategy, dollar cost average. But as far as I'm concerned, with a weekly like this, with a monthly like this, we are going to continue down. The price ultimately will continue to go down. So if this is your first time right here, guys, just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time right here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching the live stream, hit the like button. And let's talk about this, all right? Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about this markets. Let's talk about, the damage of this drop right here. Like, this is bad right here, guys. This is bad. Now, of course, we got a couple more hours before this daily is closed. But if we close below $86,000, chat, If Bitcoin closed below $86,000, I'm telling you right now, that is your confirmation that we're going down in the low $70,000 range. Yes, we do got some support around here, around $80,000. Look, we're not gonna hold any of this support right here, guys. This is way. This is not going to do anything. All right, 80,000 is not gonna hold the price of Bitcoin up. I promise you. Now, when you have a weekly looking like this, now when you have a monthly, remember we're gonna close a monthly candle in the next. What's the date to the? Today is 29, right? Do we have 31 or 30 days this January? I believe we have about. We got 31 days, okay? So in the next 2 days, we're gonna have a monthly close. Actually, Saturday, we're gonna have a monthly close. This is not, this is not a good looking monthly candle right here, guys. This is bad right here. All right, and if we can close below $80,000, oh my gosh, and if we lose $80,000 on the monthly, this is going to be really bad. And if you're still bullish on this market, honestly, I don't know what to tell you. Like, how can I help you at this point? I told you since 98,000, the Bitcoin was bearish. I told you guys since $98,000, the Bitcoin has entered a long-term bear market. You don't have to like it, right? You don't have to like my analysis. You don't have to like the way I break things down. But you got to pay attention. When these key levels are broken on the higher time frame, the expectation should be the price will continue to go down until a brand new uptrend is established. But let's talk about this. All right, let's talk about it, right? Let's actually talk about it without wasting your time jumping around and looking at different time frames. So, Bitcoin just dropped about 6% in the last couple hours. Last night the price retested $90,000. Many of you guys thought, all right, the bottom has got to be in. This is the beginning of another bull market. But I told you guys, this was a big trap. All right, I told you guys this was a big trap. I did a live stream. I talked about an hour. And, fast forward 12, 24 hours later, I was 100% right. This was a big trap. And not only was it a big trap, Bitcoin has lost a major support on the lower time frame. And I'm going to show you what that support is. But anyways, when I was looking at Bitcoin yesterday, my understanding of this move right here was that it was nothing but a pullback of this breakdown right here, guys. And this is exactly, when you watch this breakdown right here, when you watch this analysis right here, this is exactly what I was talking about. Bitcoin has broken down. Now we have a rally that goes back to retest the previous support that now becomes a resistance. All right, think about this. A support was broken. It is now being retested. So that same support is no longer a support. It has now flipped into a resistance. All right, that was my interpretation of what was going on. And what I said yesterday when the price of Bitcoin was around $90,000 was that this is not looking good. And we are actually at a place where we are more likely to get rejected. And guess what? Bitcoin exactly got rejected. And not only did we get rejected, you look at the performance of Bitcoin the next day, guys. All right, price comes down. And not only do we go down, we take out the lows right here. Now, okay, this is a little bit prematurely because the daily candle has not closed yet. We still got a couple more hours. But let me be very honest with you guys. If we close this below $86,000, this is not good. All right, this is not good at all, guys. Because this is exactly what a downtrend looks like. And this is exactly what I was expecting. You have a low right here. You have a higher low right here. You have a lower low right here. You have a higher low right here. This is a lower low right here, guys. So moving forward, you are more likely to see more of this. Lower highs and lower lows. All right. moving forward, you are more likely to see exactly this. And I think if we close below $86,000, things are actually going to accelerate all the way down to, of course, we got $80,000 to worry about first. But to be very honest with you guys, I think we're going to blast through $80,000. All right. I think we blast through $80,000 and we come all the way down into this, 74,000 to basically $74,000. I'm just going to go with 74,000. I think we're about to accelerate with this drop down right here, guys. And I think we're going down in the $70,000 range. And I have been talking about this, the last couple weeks right now. But yesterday, all right, yesterday's retest of that breakdown, like that was major. All right. And what I've said to you guys was that you see in a downtrend, one of the worst things that can happen is a bear market rally. Okay? Because a bear market rally, if you're not really focused, is going to have you thinking that the pullback is over or the bear market is over. And you are going to start thinking that you have, a new bull market birthing. Right? That is what a bear market is going to have you thinking. Right? You are going to start thinking that the bear market or the downtrend has come to an end. But ultimately what happens, guys, you end up with a lower high and you end up with another major drop. And I have been predicting this over the last couple of weeks. What I said to you guys over these last couple of weeks was that BTC is going to go up to retest its 21 weekly moving average. And we just did that. All right. We just did that. We went back up and we retested a 21 weekly moving average. And what I say to you was that once we get rejected, all right, once the 21 weekly is finally rejects us, and then we get a pullback, all right, on the weekly time frame, you are going to get an acceleration to the downside. And this is exactly what's going on right here, guys. I don't think you are going to have another rally on the weekly anytime soon. I think what we are more likely to experience is something very similar to this. All right, think about this move right here, where we go from $126,000 to 80,000 in a straight line, literally. All right, nothing up. It's a straight line down, guys. Okay, you get a one green candle in between, but who cares? What did we accomplish, going from 108,000 back to $114,000? Absolutely not, guys. So to me, what you're more likely to see over the next couple of weeks is, a continuation of these red weekly candles. I think this is exactly what you are more likely to experience. And if you try to play the short term, if you spend your time looking at the 1 hour, you are going to get things wrong because there's going to be some rallies. Even right now, we may push all the way back to around $87,000, $86,000, but it's just not going to accomplish anything. All right. Even right now, guys, we may go back to $86,000, $87,000, but what are we going to accomplish with that? Absolutely nothing. Right? You got to go to your weekly and look at the setup of this thing right here. This is not good. Right? This right here is terrible. And what I've said to you guys is that what you are experiencing right now is nothing new because we have experienced this multiple times. All you got to do is go back to sometimes in 2022. It's right here, guys. All right. In 2022, you get a breakdown. Price of Bitcoin goes back, retests all-time highs. We fail to continue up. And then you get a weekly pullback. And then you have a major support around 40,000, and then $40,000 is broken. And then shortly after, we get a weekly rally to retest the 21 weekly moving average. Right? Now, fortunately, we managed to break above the 21 weekly, but guess what, guys? We only stayed above the 21 weekly for just 2 weeks. All right. So then we end up with a pullback where the price of Bitcoin goes from $48,000 down to 25,000. This is exactly what we are going to experience over the next couple months. All right. So what we are going to experience or what we are experiencing right now is nothing new. We have seen this movie play out all over again. It's just that people are refusing to accept the reality. All right. But you can't trap me. All right. I have been around this market, long enough to know exactly what's going on. So when you go to the daily, you look at the 200 daily moving average. All right. You look at the 200 EMA right here. I was looking at this 200 EMA. I was looking at the price of Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame. I was looking at the 200 moving average, and I was looking at this rally. I was never convinced the Bitcoin was actually going to get above it. Right? I was never ever convinced the Bitcoin was going to get above the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. Do you want to know how I knew that we were going to, just not make it above the 200? Guys, all you got to do is go back again to that last bear market. And you can go back to previous bear markets. If you go back to that last bear market, when we got exactly the same move, right, going back all the way back, I got to push a little bit more back. So when you go back to that bear market, you get guys, you get exactly the same rally, man. It is right here. All right, you got exactly the same rally. After the breakdown, this was a breakdown right here. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Just give me a second. All right. After this breakdown, this is a breakdown right here. We got exactly the same rally. The rally is right here, guys. Okay, right here, the price kind of managed to get above the 200 EMA. But guess what? We got rejected. All right, we got rejected. And we spent the entire bear market below the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. So when I'm looking at these 200 EMA, my outlook on BTC is that we are more likely to spend the entire bear market below this 200 EMA on the 4-hour. So what that means to me is this. All right, I am going to be using the 200 EMA on the 4-hour every time the price of Bitcoin comes anywhere closer to it. All right, I am going to use that as a place where Bitcoin is more likely to top or is more likely to get rejected. All right, at some point we are going to come back. We are going to come back and try to retest the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. But I don't think we will manage to get above it. All right, I just don't think we'll manage to get above it until the bear market is finally over. So when you look at the setup right here on the daily, when you look at the setup on, whatever lower time frame that you guys are, more interested in, this was a breakdown. And I told you guys this was a breakdown. This was a retest of the breakdown right here, guys. That was a retest of the breakdown. And we got to, we just got rejected. Got rejected, ended up with a massive drop. Now we have lost $86,000, which was, listen, lower lows, lower highs. Right? In a bull market, you just don't you just don't take out the last lows. In a bull market, you have beautiful higher highs and higher lows. And I've used multiple indicators on the weekly to show you guys that this is not a good looking market. This is not a market that is bullish. This is not a Bitcoin that is more likely. I'm saying more likely because there's no guarantee in any of this stuff. But this is not a Bitcoin that is more likely to go back to its all-time high. Absolutely not, guys. The super trend gave us a sell signal around $96,000. Yes, this is a moving average. It is lagging. But guess what? When you look at the super trend and you go back to when did we get a buy signal? It's from January of 2023 when the price of Bitcoin was around $22,000. If you would have bought Bitcoin based on the super trend buy indicator, you would have gotten around $22,000 and you would have exited at $96,000. That is an amazing trade. That is an amazing return on your investment. And when you look at the last time, all right, or when you look at the last bear market, when he gave us a sell signal, okay, the first one was a fake out. This was the first one right here, guys. But guess what? Even though this was a fake sell signal, based on this indicator, your entry would have been around $10,000 and your exit would have been around $35,000. All right, that also would have been, great returns on your investment. But, you got the second sell signal around $44,000 and we go from $44,000 down to $15,000. Can you imagine if you would have used a super trend as your buy and sell signal? In that 2022 bear market, you would have avoided this major dump right here, guys. Like, you would have avoided this 65% dump. So what I'm saying to you guys is that on the weekly, all right, these signals, they don't normally get it wrong because, you're looking at a bigger time frame. So I am looking at this, and I think what we are more likely to see over the next couple months is a continuation of this downtrend. And I believe the super trend is going to continue to be bearish on this weekly until the bear market is finally over. All right, that could potentially be late 2026. It could potentially be early 2027. But what you must do is that you got to respect the trend of the market. And right now, I am extremely bearish on the cryptocurrency market. I am bearish on Bitcoin. And I do not believe anyone that tells me the Bitcoin is fine. I don't believe anyone that says the Bitcoin is not in a bear market. If we're not in a bear market, then what are we in? Bull markets don't look like this. Bull markets absolutely don't look like this. And this is why when price goes up, I'm the first person to say, guys, you are being trapped. And what comes out of this is going to be a bigger dump. And that's exactly what we got yesterday. So when I say to you yesterday, this is a trap, some of you guys probably, and I'm not saying you that are watching this live stream specifically, I'm saying, market participants in general, those who are still bullish, all right? The sentiment was that the lows are 100% in, and this is the beginning of, going back to 100,000, going back to 120. Can we go back to those targets? Absolutely, guys. But the setup is going to look different from this right here. If BTC turns around, trust me, I'm going to be the first person to acknowledge that finally, I'm no longer bearish on this market based on what I'm seeing in the chart. And because of that, I'm now bullish on Bitcoin. And I'm going to be very honest with you. That is not flip-flopping. No, that is, changing your opinion on something based on new information. That's exactly what you should do. Right? I'm not a perma bear. I'm not a perma bull. What I am is a person that's somewhere in between. If a market is bullish, I'm going to be extremely bullish on the asset. If a market is bearish, I'm going to be extremely bearish on the asset. Because I'm not here to pick a side. Long term, Bitcoin has always been bullish. Doesn't matter if we go from 3,000 to 20,000, then we get a pullback to $4,000, right? As long as that bigger time frame is up, I'm looking at those yearly time frames. I'm looking at the 5, 10, 20 years out. Those are bullish long term. I'm bullish on that side of things. But when we are talking about like right now, like what do you see 3-6 months from now? This is just not, it's just not a bullish market. I'm sorry that I have to say that. All right, I don't want to say it, but someone's got to do it. So let me know your thoughts on BTC, guys. I mean, there's really not much that I'm going to say that we haven't already talked about. But, it is dark out there. And if you are dollar cost averaging into this stuff right here, it's perfectly fine. As long as your expectation on returns on that investment is not anytime soon. Appreciate you guys for joining. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Hopefully I'm providing value. All right, appreciate you guys for joining. All right, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let's get to, how many likes should we try to aim at? Let's get to 100 likes, something like that. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. If you guys can hit that subscribe button, really, really appreciate that. All right. Solana price prediction for the bottom. Guys, I got to be honest, though. I don't know. All right. I have no idea. I mean, I can try to give you my guess. Probably, below $50. I think below $50, Solana is where it's more likely to bottom. Right now, it's kind of, it's hard to know right now. Yeah, we got to have to be a little bit more patient. So, anyways, let's get into the altcoin market because, altcoins, man. Yo, Chad, you can't say that I haven't been helpful. All right. I'm not always right, but you cannot say that I have not been helpful. Every single one of my updates, every single one of my market updates, I'm bearish on this market, guys. I'm not bullish on the markets. I don't care how much something may go up in the short term. That is not what I'm referring to. And you want to know why? Every time I talk about how bearish I am, what I want you guys to focus on is what time frame am I talking about? All right. If you see me talk about bearish, but I'm on the 15 minutes, challenge me. All right. Challenge me because in the short term, if I'm on the 15 minutes and I'm bullish, maybe I'm just talking about, right now and in the next 48 hours or in the next 72 hours. But when I'm on this weekly and when I'm looking at this monthly and I say I'm bearish, if price goes up the next day, I don't want you guys to come back and say, hey, you bearish, but the market is up today. Guys, it takes time. It takes time, man. When you look at a weekly chart, weekly turns into monthly, weeks turns into months. Months turns into many, many months, potentially years. So, when I'm bearish on these time frames, like what I'm saying to you is you got to zoom out a little bit. You got to look at the bigger picture. Look at the next 3-6 months. Look at the next 6-12 months. Look at the next 12-18 months. That's what I'm basically talking about. So, let's talk about these altcoins because it is disgusting. If you're still dollar cost averaging into altcoins, honestly, what? What is here to dollar cost averaging? Honestly, chat. Let's be very honest. What is here to dollar cost averaging, where the expectation is 3-6 months from now, we're looking at a 5x, we're looking at a 10x. Honestly. Let's talk about altcoins. Altcoins, you must avoid them. You must avoid every single altcoin by any means necessary. Yes, guys. Malcolm X. You got to avoid every single one of these altcoins. Let's talk about them. This is XRP right here, guys. My outlook on XRP is that we're coming all the way back into this range. We're talking about 50, 70 cents. You don't have to like it. But when you got a monthly chart looking like this, run away as far away as you can. This right here is a disaster, like 100% a disaster, guys. So when you go to the daily, you look at the last bear market rally. We've talked about it, and we said, hey guys, don't worry about it. These altcoins will come back to retest the 21 weekly because they do this every single bear market. But take your profits, because if you don't, just give it a couple more weeks. Those entire gains are going to be wiped out. And guess what, guys? The price of XRP was up about 33%. We have officially wiped out that entire 33% gains. Like officially, guys, out. And we're looking at an XRP that is about to drop down to $1.61. When you go to the lower time, we have actually officially lost this 181 support. $1.81 support. We have officially lost it. We got a 4-hour close below the support. All right. Over the next couple hours, we're going to get a daily close. So if XRP closes below this low right here, that is your confirmation that $1.61 is coming next. And when you think about what that looks like, percentage wise, you go from right here all the way down. It's a 10% drop. Okay, a 10% drop may not seem much. This is crypto. We go down 10% on a daily basis. But what you also have to realize is that, Yo, that is your last real support until we dump all the way down into this 50, 70 cents range. Like literally all you have is $1.61. And what's bad about this $1.61 is really not strong, guys. Yes, it is a support and we got to respect it. But there is nothing that looks like right here, it doesn't look like this is gonna hold the price up. Maybe we start getting some bounce somewhere around $1.28. I'm looking at this entire range. Maybe we get a bounce right there back to $1.61 and then, price continues lower. But on the weekly, I just think on the weekly, it's it's just a straight line down into, 70 cents. Because when you look at this weekly, like you don't have any support until, once you start approaching 92 cents to $1.40, like that's where you might get something in this range right here. But to me, it looks like it's going to be a straight line down into this 50, 70 cents range. So you want to try to stay as far away as you can from a bunch of these altcoins. Let's talk about XLM. Guys, XLM right here is losing. Actually, I don't know what I mean. It's losing. It has already lost major weekly support. Yo, you're looking at a 50% drop. You are looking at a 50% drop. It is basically returning to the base. Like we are returning to, the lows of the last bear market. Like this right here. I mean, guys, look, I don't have to lie to you because it's right in front of you. Right? You may be looking at this and you may be thinking, well, we got to find some support right here. There's nothing to support us. Like absolutely not. Then when you go to the daily, this is the daily right here. Look at this, man. Oh my gosh. The more I look at these altcoins, I mean, I honestly, I just feel sorry for anyone who is still bullish on, any of this stuff. There may be one altcoin out there that's looking pretty and stuff, but the majority of them, yeah, I don't even want to look at them. I mean, we gotta do it because we love the market, so it's only right we analyze them. Let's take a look at SUI, guys. I told you SUI, long-term bear market. SUI is about to lose major weekly support. It is about to give us a weekly lower low. In terms of where SUI is more likely heading, you're looking at 46 cents. Chat, what's beauty about the crash right now is that there is going to be life-changing opportunities. I don't look at this as a bad thing, long term. I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, this is a time to make sure I have my capital right. So once this market finally bottoms on the monthly, on the weekly, and we start to build a base for the next bull market, I want to make sure I have enough capital to accumulate during the accumulation phase. But right now, this is not an accumulation phase. Right now, it is a market that is in a long-term downtrend, and you got to wait until, look, once you start to see something like this, on the weekly, this is when you start a position. But you must see, all right, you must, guys, you got to see something like this where a base is built, price is going to go up, you got to get a pullback, price is going to go back up, try to challenge the trend, price is going to give you a pullback and then you go up again. Once you see something like this, then you can start building a position for the next bull market. But we're nowhere near this. All right. Right now, your strategy should be, if you're only interested in the cryptocurrency market, your strategy should be, let me work as hard as I can to stack up my capital, to make sure if I need $10,000 to invest in this market, I have $10,000 when the time is right. If you want $50,000 to invest in this market, You want to make sure you have that $50,000 ready when the market is right. But right now, it's about capital preservation. You want to try to preserve what you actually have, guys. Don't blow it. And if you're holding altcoins in your portfolio, look, my opinion, convert it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is gonna go down, but it won't be as bad as these altcoins. All right. It doesn't matter if you're down 50% already, guys. Convert it. Because what comes after, it's a 90% crash. And you don't even know if that altcoin is ever going to survive. But if you can convert that into Bitcoin, you actually are able to preserve some Satoshis. Remember, we're not here for altcoins. We are here for Bitcoin. Now, once we do get some altcoins with great technologies, coins with very good utilities that people are actually using, now that's a different ball game. But as of right now, everything in the cryptocurrency market, you can say including Bitcoin, it is still a speculation. And altcoins, we are a casino right now. Literally, guys, this is Vegas right here. So convert that into Bitcoin, preserve your Satoshis, and then when the bull market comes around, sell your Bitcoin and get back into the altcoin market, or simply just stay in Bitcoin. But TA wise, altcoins, it's a disaster. Like, honestly, this is bad. Let's take a look at Dogecoin. Look, Dogecoin is losing a major weekly support. What's worse about altcoins is that they've actually been in a bear market since early 2024. Not all of them, but majority of them. Majority of these altcoins, they actually topped in early 2024. So we're not just talking about, in terms of Dogecoin has been in a bear market since, I'm absolutely right. Now, this one is late 2024. Dogecoin has been in a bear market since November of 2024. Chad, we in 2026. We are in 2026. All right. So, I'm looking at Dogecoin right here. This pullback could potentially bring us down to around 8 cents. You lose 8 cents. You start thinking about, the lows of the 2022 bear market. But to me, this will be my targets. I'm looking at 8 cents and 5 cents. Those will be my two targets. Now, when should I flip bullish on Dogecoin? Well, I got to see something like this. I need to see this accumulation range. Look at this right here. And right here, you can clearly see that we have some bullish divergences. All right, despite this bearishness right here. You see the MACD was giving you some bullish divergency. All right, and then we break above the 21 weekly. Retested the 21 weekly, stayed above the 21 weekly. All right, that should have been the time to be a buyer. Somewhere around 8 cents. Forget about getting in at the 5-6 cents lows. If you would have jumped in at 8 cents, guys, you would have done really well. Entry right here, all the way up. You would have got out with, over 400% profits. All right. You're going to have to wait for something like that. Now, there's some altcoins that I'm looking at right now, and they look very interesting to me. Those altcoins are the ones that topped in early 2024. The example one is FET. Now, FET benefited very much from the AI hype. I'm looking at FET. It's been in a bear market since literally March of 2024. So March of 2024, we in 2026. This is basically 600 days of a bear market. Could it be longer? Absolutely yes. I am looking at FET, and it's done exactly everything I thought it was going to do. But I'm waiting for a breakout. I'm waiting for price to break above here, all right, above this yellow resistance. And I'm going to wait for a pullback. Basically, guys, I am waiting for something that looks like this, where we get a breakout. This is a breakout right here, long-term breakout. And then you get a pullback right here. And then this is where I'm interested in jumping into a position. So the equivalent of that would be a move like this, like a very big move. And then you give me a pullback. And then this is the new bull market. So FET is something that I'm pretty much very interested in. I'm also looking at weekly setup. This is a bullish divergence to me. price is coming down, but you look at the MACD has been trending up. You look at, the monthly setup. Is monthly bullish? Absolutely not, guys. Looking at the MACD momentum indicator, this is extremely bearish. I don't want to be anywhere something that looks like this. You're looking at monthly RSI is all the way down in the 40s. I don't want my RSI to be down in the 40s. I want to see the RSI start creeping up. Right? That is what I want to see. But first, of course, I need a breakout on the higher time frame. I need a pullback. And I need to see price stay above the lows. I don't know if the bear market low is in. All right? We are yet to be proven on that. But this is something that I'm very interested in. And I'm also keeping my eyes on the 200 daily moving average. Right now, the 200 looks to be around 40 cents. So if price can break above the 200, give me a nice pullback to retest the 200, stay above the 200, I'm going to look for some sort of an entry. So I'll give you an example of that. That would be the equivalent of this right here, guys. All right, that would be the equivalent of this right here. Here you get bullish divergence. Notice how price is not really going down from June 2022 until basically December, for 6 months, guys. The price just going sideways. So I need to see something like that. If I'm looking at this chart right here, like right now, I don't see anything. I don't want to say I don't see anything similar to that. This looks kind of very similar, but guess what? It is way early. All right. From November 2025, we are right now in 2026. We haven't really taken out these lows right here. So this is kind of very positive. But I need to see a continuation of this right here. If we can break above 31 cents and give me another pullback, then I will have to say, okay, the bear market lows are absolutely in. If you go back and you look at the same consolidation right here, all right, I don't want to get rid of my work. So if you come right here, guys, you put a trend line right here. Okay, you have the first move right here. These are the moves that are trying to break structures. You get a pullback. You get a second one right here. You get another pullback. You get another one right here. You get another pullback. You get another one right here. And then you get a pullback and then boom. So when you look right here, this is the price trying to break above the previous lower high. And here is when we finally accomplish that, because once we get this breakout and then we got a pullback, the pullback gave us a higher low. All right. So this was a time to load up. I remember about FET around 41 cents. I bought it sometimes around here. Was it? No, let me go to the weekly. I bought it somewhere around here. Somewhere around here, guys. This is when I bought right here. I ignored that 2023 run, early 2023 run. I waited for a pullback, and then I jumped in around 41 cents. Now, that was my first time coming across the project, but I wish I would have jumped in around the 20 cents range when we dropped all the way down here. But even with my entry around 41, like, I did very good because it ended up going up 600%. This is exactly what you need to see from a bunch of these altcoins. Right now, we just don't have that. How we doing out there, guys? It's been years. No, I live stream almost every day. It's been years since I did a live stream. I live stream every single day. AVAX, Nia, what could be the bottom? Absolutely not, guys. Absolutely not. Do not dollar cost average into AVAX. Right? I'm not here to say the bottom is not in, and I'm not here to say the bottom is in. What I'm here to say is that the trend is down. I wouldn't do it. Chad, give me a second. Let me grab some water. I'll be right back. right? Back again, back again. So let's take a look at AVAX. Chat, do not dollar cost average into AVAX. Absolutely not. This is AVAX right here. This is AVAX right here. I know what some of you guys may be thinking. You're looking at right here, and you're thinking to yourself, surely this got to be the bottom because we are retesting major weekly support, monthly support. And not only that, like the absolute lows is $8.67. Let me put something else with some beta data. There you go, right here, guys. You may be looking at this and you may be thinking to yourself, the lows are almost in. Guys, let me be very honest. We could go way lower. This thing right here could potentially come all the way down here, guys. We can break these lows right here and probably come to somewhere around $5. Maybe even lower. Who knows? But hold on. Oh, there we go. Right there. We may get a pullback down into this $5 range. Like, who knows how this is going to play out? I don't see a reason to be bullish on AVAX. I'm looking for some bullish divergences on the weekly. I don't see any of them. This is not bullish divergency. This is not bullish divergency right here. When you look at the last bear market and you look at your weekly RSI and your weekly MACD, we have bullish divergency right here. All right. We have bullish divergency on the RSI. We have bullish divergency on the MACD. This is the MACD right here, guys. MACD was always trending up despite price, coming down. Okay. If I'm looking at my weekly RSI, I don't see bullish divergency. If I'm looking at my weekly MACD, I really don't see bullish divergency. And if this is the beginning of it, we gotta have to be a little bit more patient because this does not look like, all right, something that is ready to bottom out. Because if we are going to bottom out, the RSI surely it's got to be at a place where it looks like we are putting in a final bottom, like this one right here. The MACD surely has got to be at a place where it looks like we're about to break above the zero line, like this one right here. So if I'm looking at this, to me, all right, I am saying to myself, I need to be a little bit more patient. Not only that, if you look at AVAX in the last bear market, if you put a trend line right here, this was a very bullish pattern right here, guys, all right? And you don't have to get in exactly at $8. You could have jumped in, the moment we break above the resistance. Now, it doesn't have to be on the weekly because price might get a little bit away from you. But if you go to the daily, you could have jumped in around $15. The bottom was at $8. Your entry is $15. That's a great entry, guys. So if I'm looking at this, to me, yes, this gives you a nice trend line that acts as a support. All right. But then when you look at your resistance, something like this, like you're looking at AVAX, until we break above 31, if you want to go with that, or if you don't want to go with that, we can go with this one right here. We need price to break above $20. Right? We need price to break above $20. So for me, AVAX, I'm absolutely not touching it. And I wouldn't recommend to anyone. This is bad, man. Give it months, give it a couple more months. See how this plays out. All right? At least wait for a green monthly candle like this one right here. And then, maybe you can start looking for a reason to be bullish. Right now, I just don't have the reason to be bullish. If you are on the monthly, the last bear market, you could have turned bullish the moment price break above $20. Because here you had a very bullish monthly candle. Yes, your entry is not 8. But guess what? You don't have to experience a big drawdown. This was a 200% profits based on that $20 entry. Are we going into a bear market right now? Yo, we are in a bear market. We've been in a bear market. We have been in a bear market for most of these altcoins since early 2024. All right? For the rest of them, since late 2024. All right? Only Bitcoin just recently entered a bear market. This is the argument I was making, throughout 2025, that altcoins are in a bear market. And I was absolutely right. But Bitcoin recently entered a bear market. And I put that out there because I did a live stream and I told you guys, this is the end of it. It's right here, guys. Exactly 1 month ago, I told you Bitcoin and altcoins bull market structure has been broken. All right, this is a month ago, guys. So you're looking now sometimes in December. This is the live stream that I put out there. At the time, BTC was around, this was in Bitcoin around 85,000. So we had already talked about how bearish BTC was. But I told you guys the BTC was officially in a bear market way before that. I think I had to delete the other videos. Yeah, most of my streams were deleted because I was afraid YouTube might get rid of my channel again. But BTC lost its bull market uptrend, at least to me. Oh my gosh, we are 83K right now. Holy smoke, guys. We lost the bull market the moment the price broke above 98,000. That was my bear market, official for BTC. The moment we broke $98,000, the bear market was bang. The bear market officially begun for Bitcoin. But altcoins, way long time ago. Because when you look at the structure of a bunch of these altcoins on the weekly, it was broken way before, guys. You got to go back to late 2024, early 2024 for some of these altcoins. All right. We went into a bear market in November. Yeah, for BTC, you can make an argument that we went into the bear market in November. All right, November, which is somewhere around here. Basically my, $98,000 loss. So, yo, chat, what I want you guys to do is don't allow any short-term price movement, make you believe that somehow the market is back again. Trust me on this, and trust me when I say this. You see these weekly time frames and these monthly time frames, they take a very long time to turn around. If a market is bullish on the weekly or monthly, yo, put as much money as you can in whatever the asset is, because you are about to experience an incredible bull market. Now, it's not always guaranteed. Sometimes it goes up for a little bit and, you get a reversal. But more often, when your weekly or monthly are in an uptrend, you got a very long bull market. So try to pull as much as you can in the market. But when the weekly or monthly, when they go bearish, unless you're shorting the market, stay out the way. Don't allow any short-term price action to fool you. All right? Weekly, monthly, all right, they dictate where the market is heading. So I'm telling you right now, yo, track the performance of Bitcoin on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. What that means is every Sunday, look at the price of Bitcoin. Instead of looking at Bitcoin from Monday to Sunday, just only one time a week, every Sunday, before a weekly close, just look at the price of Bitcoin. Where are we? All right? Or maybe every month, at the end of every month, look at the price of Bitcoin. Where are we? That is going to help you with your emotions. That is going to have you detach, from this market on a daily basis. Because otherwise, If every time the price goes from 85,000 to 90,000, you start forming a long-term bullish opinion, you're doing it wrong, man. You gotta have to wait until this weekly. This is why sometimes I feel like, look, I'm trying to build my audience right now, but I really feel like I'm wasting my time when I live stream every single day because, most of the time I'm just repeating the same stuff that I've already talked about. Because I'm not looking at the short term, like I'm not here to analyze the 5 minute charts. I'm not here to analyze, the 2 minutes, the 15 minutes. What I'm here to analyze is the weekly and monthly, the daily, because that is where the bigger profits tend to come from. When you have a market that is in an uptrend on weekly and monthly, but you get a pullback on the daily, that is an amazing opportunity to be a buyer. Like, let me share with you guys some incredible opportunities right now in the stock market. So we're gonna go to the monthly chart. Look, AATL. This is an incredible. You see this thing right here, guys? We're about to have a monthly close, right? I want you to take a look at how crazy this monthly candle is. This thing is probably going all the way up to around $12, which is almost a 300% profits. So if SATL gives you a pullback on the daily, even if we come back to around, I'm looking at this and I'm kind of thinking, previous resistance right here, this trend line may become a place where, we might pull back to. If you get a pullback, let's say price goes from $5 all the way down to around, 420, 430, you should be a buyer. Because as long as the weekly, like this right here, and as long as the monthly continue to look like this, the short-term price action is an opportunity to just add on to your position. I'll show you another example. APLD. APLD currently $38. All right. Look, the best times to jump in was definitely back here in the $7.65 range. But recently we broke above a major resistance of $34.50. If you get a pullback on the daily, like right now, this is an amazing opportunity to be a buyer. Right? In the short term, who cares? Look, who knows what price will do in the short term? You may go down $2, $3. But as long as that weekly, as long as that monthly is bullish, you are going to be fine. Like, your entry doesn't have to be perfect. I'll give you one more example. AMPX. Like, look how bullish this thing is. I recently analyzed it when price was right here during the breakout. And you can clearly see I'm predicting $15.82, which is a 40% profits. This right here, you want to be a buyer. Pullbacks, you want to be a buyer. I think we gapped up. I mean, absolutely amazing. So anyways, what do you guys have for me? What do you have that you would like me to analyze? Because I don't really have anything else, to be very honest with you. I gave you some trades. I gave you Zcash. That trade, turned out to, like, we got stopped out because our stop loss was just right above 385. Price managed to get above $400. But it doesn't change anything when you look at the weekly. Like, this is a clear downtrend. Right now, Zcash is really trying to break $300. Once we lose $300, you got to say hello to, back in here. Let me go to the monthly. You got to have to say hello back to, this $180, $200 range. There we go. And we're coming back right here, guys. On the daily is a little bit more clear. There we go, right here. Coming back right here. But the crazy thing is that when you zoom out, when you go to the weekly, I mean, this thing is going to go way, way lower. Like, I honestly think we are more likely to revisit $80. I'm just going to give you my target right now. I'm looking at $80. And man, you keep asking me for a bottom. I don't know where the bottom is going to be. Like, honestly, I have no idea. MSTR, I think we're going below $100. All right. I think we're going below $100, but let's see how that plays out. It's crazy, actually. I'm bullish in the short term, and I'm actually predicting, like, I think we have a move. Despite this pullback, oh man, kind of blast through my support. But I actually see this and I say this is a bullish divergency on the daily, and I'm actually expecting price to push up to, like maybe the $200 range. Like I have a position that is currently in a loss. I mean, nothing crazy, of course, but and this is the mistake. I actually made a mistake because I don't I just don't long things are in a long term downtrend. I normally just stay on the sideline. But for some reason, I convinced myself that a big up bear rally was coming, like a 30% move. So I jumped in around, I think, 172. So I'm probably down a good 20% right now, maybe not. Yeah, I'm down almost 20% right now, so you can clearly see this is not something that I'm happy with. But where is the bottom? I mean, when you go to the monthly like targets, you got to start looking at $102 and potentially $70, $80. Like that will be my target. Yeah, 2026 is going to be brutal for the cryptocurrency market. It is already brutal. But people just, people they just don't want to accept the reality. And I think people are looking at this market and, they're trying to make it what it's actually not, at least right now. And listen, we'll see. All right. We'll see how 2026 plays out. Anyways, guys, look, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream. Hopefully I'm providing value. Hopefully this was helpful. And I'll see y'all